Vincenzo Casano, the most feared and most brutal consigliere in Italy, is finally out. The real monster's out. Let's talk about it.
Cool, episode 9, episode 10, these past 2 episodes, we've been contemplating or we've been speculating when it was gonna get real. Like, I mean, really real. Because when the bad guys do their work, people die,
yes.
Right? And people died. Like, the family of the victims apparently, you know, commit mass suicide through asphyxiation. It's so hard for me to say that word, but essentially, they burn the charcoal, they close off all the windows, they all die in the van. And so this leads into a series of events. I just don't know what to say.
That lead to the emergence of Vincenzo Casano, the one that we've been, I don't know if I want to say dying to see, but the one that they've definitely been setting up since the beginning when they saw, or when they showed us the first episode where he was in Italy and he had this conversation with another family or another mafia family, and he burned their crops and then he killed the people who were trying to kill him. It was just a whole side of him that we hadn't seen for a while in his time in Korea. And so we've briefly glimpsed all of this when he defends the people of the plaza and he brings out his martial arts and you know, beats the crap out of people. But then we see in this event how his eyes change. It's almost as if he went back to becoming Hitokiri. And if you know, you know.
Tokiri Batosai?
Yeah.
His eyes definitely change. You get glimpses of some of the things that he did in his past. There was a glimpse of him taking someone out, and apparently there was maybe a family in that car. And so he made a promise, presumably, we're just presuming here, that he made a promise that he would never do that again. I don't know, because throughout this whole time they were humanizing him with Cha Young and the tenants. You know, he was defending them and he was doing the righteous thing. As you said, something flipped, and it feels like we might get the real Vincenzo Casano.
I think we have gotten the real Vincenzo, at least like the beginnings of it in the final moments of the final episode. But we also have to acknowledge that Cha Young is also going through this kind of transformation as well. She went from being like this ambitious, don't care about anybody else, cutthroat lawyer, to a lawyer who cares about the small person, who cares about defending the people who have been wronged, to now acknowledging that, yes, perhaps Vincenzo used to work for the mafia, and he warns her. He's like, I might have to do some things. And she's like, I'm willing to let you break your promise. You know, when promises can be broken because of necessity.
Yeah.
And so they're both going through a transformation, and he's kind of going through a regression. It's interesting to see how this is all going to pan out, because we've been speculating also in these past couple of episodes if Vincenzo knows who Jungwoo is.
Yeah. Before we get to all of that, let's recap a little bit, because the show does a really good job of getting super serious and then giving you some shenanigans. You know, I really wanted to shout out Mr. Lee, who is a true MMA fighter, so it seems, because, you know, his ears got revealed, and those gnawed ears, those messed up ears happen to MMA fighters and wrestlers. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh, so maybe he does have some MMA powers. And his wife too, like, I don't know, she did like a clean lift, and I don't know what's going on there. And then Mr. Tak, he's like, he turned into the Bourne Identity all of a sudden.
Yeah, so Mr. Tak, it seems like he took his scissors and he went Kali Kali on everybody with his knife skills. You're talking about Mr. Lee and his fighting skills when he was, you know, confronting those people who were breaking into Vincenzo's apartment. You know, I had shades of like My Hero with Deku, and he's like, I'm only going to use 10% of my power. And then he kicks their butt, which begs the question, what is 100% of his power? And will he do like a United States of Smash at some point?
United States of Detroit. No, that's not really it. So there's a lot of things that's happening in the Tenant that remains a mystery. Just kind of makes the show a little bit more refreshing, because like, you think that the Tenants are like so weak and helpless. At the end of the day, they show up for some reason and goes ballistic.
Yeah, absolutely. They all have a sordid past that we still have to uncover. Now, they're all on a collective mission to get this gold that's underneath the plaza. And, you know, some of these pasts come up, you know, with Mr. Lee and Mr. Tak. I think Mr. Tak obviously is like I think he's like, he used to be the old school, like, master of the Twin Swords gang or something. You know, I'm pretty sure he's familiar with them. That's why he kind of stepped up in that point. But also we have, you know, that woman that says, I'm also good with computers. So she's the horrifying or the horror pianist that he meets in the beginning. But I think she's like a hacker. And I think maybe sooner or later we're going to see that pay off where Kasano and Jiparagi need to have something hacked or do something where it requires her skill. And I said this while we were watching this episode. I think that this plaza, Gunga Plaza, is Mr. Kasano's new mafia.
They're employing all of these tactics, like delivering the letter C's to each of the Wusang group, Miss Choi, and then the fake chairman as well. And then they have this like really crazy like live stream broadcast of like just insane, like they put masks on and they're pretending to be someone else. They're trying to take down evildoers through means of social media. And it's starting to pay off because here we go. We get to the end where the real Vincenzo Casano shows up.
Obviously, we already mentioned that the victim's family was framed or at least set up to have a suicide, but it was actually a murder. And then we have Junwoo, who is straight up killing people left and right. I mean, he's got killers killing the doctor. And then he brings out his hockey stick and kills the prosecutor's assistant. Yes. Like, he's scaring everybody. And even his brother is like, I thought he was gonna flip, and a part of me still thinks that him showing that he's scared of his older brother is still kind of like a ruse. He's still planning small bits and pieces here for him to make his move, but
I think he's still dumb. I think he's still too dumb to even think about doing something like that. I'm starting to move away from him flipping at this point.
But of course, all of this leads to the end where they find out that Vincenzo Casano is the most feared and brutal and dreaded consigliere in all of the mafia families. And of course, as we mentioned, that stuff is going to come out towards the end, but there's this epiphany that Junwoo has where he's like, he's been treating Vincenzo as a sparring partner. No, he needs to treat him as a real enemy,
he's
a Mayweather. And so things heat up there, and now we come to the conclusion of episode 10, where Vincenzo is cornered by a bunch of hitmen.
I mean, those were some amazing choreographed scenes. That sequence of events were like breathtaking. Like, it was like, first you get the shenanigans, and then it gets a little bit serious. People are dead all over the place, and then you get this showdown, 1 versus 3, guns all over the place, flipping around, a little bit of martial arts, boom, 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 here you go. And then it was pretty crazy, and I really, really enjoyed it. I think both of us, when we were watching, was like, holy, like, that was pretty crazy. It's new to what we've been seeing so far. And then he finds out who the real boss is.
Yeah, this part of the episode, or this ending of the episode, really shows the quality of Vincenzo Casano. Like, when you think about the revelation that he's the most dreaded consigliere, and then he goes up against 3 people, and it's not just some thugs, right? We've been seeing him take care of some thugs here and there, but now we've got what we're assuming to be trained killers to assassinate him.
Yeah, that was the biggest difference for this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And his fighting, it's just crazy to me to think that Vincenzo could get any more
ruthless.
Yes, ruthless.
And that's what we've been waiting for. And I'm hoping that the next couple of episodes, from here on out, it's just going to be brutal Vincenzo Casano versus 2 PM. You know, like, they both know each other now. That last stare down is just like, oh, we've been waiting for this for way too long.
Yeah, and we've been theorizing that whether or not Vincenzo actually knew about Junwoo for a while now, and I'm of the mindset that he knew, he just needed that much more confirmation. Like, it was in the back of his mind, seeing all those times that he spoke to Chairman Jang and kind of made him, you know, buckle at the knees, or all of those small little hints that he sees that Junwoo just kind of gives him, where he's like, he's more than just this intern that is head over heels over Chaeyoung. And then he gets the confirmation from one of the assassin's phones. I don't know if he called it or if the assassin told him.
I think the assassin called him, because I really wanted him to like turn around and then see 2 PM across the way, and then decide to just ring the phone and it'll just like start ringing, and that's the big revelation. But I think he told him, like, they had this big stare down, and it's gonna be fire.
It'll be interesting to see how things play out now, how this rivalry is going to evolve, because we know that Vincenzo has the capacity to be ruthless, the capacity to be very, very scary. And the only kind of scary part that I can see about 2 p.m. or Junwoo is that he just has he's like a sociopath. He doesn't have any, qualms about killing people. He's very emotionless when it comes to that stuff.
Right.
Like, he's looking at the photos of what Vincenzo has done to his past victims, and he's like, oh my gosh, look at him.
Super excited.
Yes, he's very excited. So it's like seeing a mafia person like Vincenzo versus someone who just enjoys straight up violence and killing. One is like a very professional, very cool-headed, precise, calculated, and the other one is just very, very maniacal and psychopathic. And I'm wondering how those two heads are going to butt.
I think that's the best part about this, because it's such a contrast between the two. You see it from anime, you see it from movies. It's always the psychopathic killer or the psychopathic god complex villain versus the calm and composed hero who is also kind of going through his own, personal struggles because of the past, so to speak. And so these are kind of common things when it comes to the good versus the bad, the hero versus the villain. But that's what makes it exciting.
Absolutely. And of course, this puts a wrench in my original theory that Junwoo was a gangster from New York. But I guess he just studied there, and he just killed his dad and is a psychopath. And that's okay. Not the fact that he's a psychopath, the fact that he's not a gangster. This is probably a better situation for the story.
Yeah, I think so too.
Where Vincenzo is the mafia guy, and this guy is just really...
He's just psychopathic, and he found a way to get rid of his dad and took control of the company, and now he's playing in the shadows to play God, so to speak.
Does he have the psychopathic gene? Shout out to Mouse.
Yes, go check out that video of ours. We'll leave it a link in the description below somewhere.
In any case, that'll do it for our reaction to episode 9 and 10 of Vincenzo. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe for more videos, and as always, we'll see you in the next one.